Before the video starts, does my dog look scary? I said this to some friends before and they had a variety of different answers. So yeah, what does this thing say to you? How does this make you feel? If you go on Roblox today and you play games like Die of Death or Forsaken, you'll see a lot of asymmetrical games in your homepage. I think we kind of went through an asymmetrical horror game craze, and now we're still kind of waiting for some great ones to come out. But that got me wondering, what were the asymmetrical games before 2020? Before Forsaken and before Pillar Chase? And that's why I made this video, to go over some of these older asymmetrical games. To explain what an asymmetrical game is, it means one versus all, or just an uneven amount of players on one team that oppose another team. That could define a lot of games, which is why I'm only talking about asymmetrical horror games, which account for games like Dead by Daylight or Forsaken. If I did just asymmetrical games without the horror, then I'd have to cover like Prop Hunt and Mario Party and stuff, and I don't really want to do that. Oh, and also, yeah, I did say before 2020, the thumbnail was kind of clickbait. I just said before Forsaken just because it rang more. So these are all games before 2020. I mean, the new asymmetrical horror games that are coming out look crazy, but sometimes it's fun to try out the classics once in a while. So all the games that I mentioned will be put down in the description for you to play yourself. Some of them, maybe you don't have to play. Some of these games are like super old, like older than dust, and there's not really much gameplay to them. Some of them, you just can't even play. I'm sure there are some asymmetrical horror games that I do not cover in this video, probably because they aren't that crazy. I mean, back in old Roblox, there was actually a ton of these games, but it'd just be like basic Roblox baseplate. One person has a sword and everyone else doesn't. It'd be really basic, which is why I'm only covering the ones that are semi-popular or have some like meat on them. But enough yapping, let's just go on to the video because I have not uploaded in a while. I need to get this done. But wait, there's something I forgot to mention. This video is sponsored, which is insane. Sponsored by 28awesomebugs.org. This is an actual website that you could go on right now. It's awesome. This is like games, toys even. You can play bug pachinko and lose all of your bug funds. It's crazy. I really should have made a video on just this website. Just look at this. Doesn't this look awesome? I mean, if it looks awesome, then you're probably a bug. Maybe you are a bug. You ever thought about that? Your parents could be lying. You're probably pure dragonfly. You don't even know. You just won the genetic lottery and you are born as such a deformed dragonfly that you're actually the perfect human. Where am I even going with this? Go on 28awesomebugs.org. It's pretty fun. You can like look at your bugs and like play with them and like move them around and like do all this fun stuff. You can go bug fishing. I even have my own bug on this thing. And if you can find out which one it is, that's awesome. And for a limited time, you could use code TheEdgiestTaco for 100,000 bug coins. Even though you can just get that amount immediately, might as well use my code to make me feel appreciated. Again, the code is the THE Edgiest EDGIEST Taco TACO. Now enough yapping. I'm glad this is my first sponsor of all things, but now let's actually go back to the video. And if you don't know who I am, I'm a taco with sunglasses. Out of all the games here, you've probably heard about this one. Piggy was created in 2020 by Minitoon. The game was kinda not well known for a bit, but Piggy then became really popular back in 2021 for some reason, to the point they made tons of toys and merch for it. I guess that's what happened to Roblox games when they got popular back in 2021. I actually still see these Piggy plushies whenever I go to Walmart, which is kinda crazy to me. Anyways, for a game that grew this popular, it had to have been really good, right? I mean, if you played Granny back in 2019, imagine that game, but Granny has an evil Peppa Pig head. Yep, that's the gameplay. You either play as a survivor collecting items, doing puzzles, and opening doors with the many keys you have before the timer runs out, or before Piggy catches you. You could also get to play as Piggy, of course, with your only goal being to stop the survivors from escaping. The survivor gameplay is really where it's at though. You pretty much have to do an escape room in under 10 minutes while Piggy tries to stop you. To do so, you're given one ability. Most of the abilities you can pick are just information perks, but some actually seem pretty useful. I wouldn't know though. These abilities take a while to unlock. You have to scour every map to find blueprints that give you one notch of progress on a random ability. This really feels like a mobile game the more I think about it. The abilities don't matter though, as the survivor's main source of escaping chase is the ungodly broken ability of crouching. Piggy weeps every time the survivors inch a little closer to the ground, as scattered across every map are these little vent things that Piggy could not enter. The only thing Piggy could do about these is place traps in front of them, but honestly, you might not see that done in this game, as most of the time, you won't actually be playing as Piggy in Piggy. One of the most popular modes in Piggy is versus bot, meaning Piggy is just played by an AI instead of a player. The reason why this mode is chosen so much is because this game is very killer-sided. I feel awkward even putting Piggy in this video thanks to how powerful she is compared to the other survivors. It's not like she has God mode or anything. Just besides from the crouch, survivors can't really do anything against her. There's so many corners in these maps that accidentally bumping into Piggy is pretty common. She does emit music, but it's not really a chase theme or anything. It really just feels like Piggy swallowed a jukebox or something, as that music is quiet. If Piggy really wanted to, they could also just camp important items or hard target people holding them. Piggy may only be slightly faster than the survivors, but these maps have so many dead ends that Piggy actually feels more like a rushdown killer than a trapper, even though traps account for all of her abilities. I would say this makes the killer experience kinda boring, and it does, but at least the survivor experience is still fun. And the option to remove the playable killer entirely seems like how this game was meant to be played. Should I even be talking about this game? I guess I'll end this segment short. Oh wait, I forgot to talk about the lore, which this game has a lot of. For a game with the first level being a one-to-one granny clone, it's really bizarre seeing the plot evolve into a zombie apocalypse conspiracy. The whole game just revolves around you, the player, having to fight off pretty much every Peppa Pig character in an end-of-the-world scenario. It's honestly pretty fire. Seems like everyone thought it was fire too, as this game has sequels, spin-offs. It even had a Steam game for a while. There's even games being made in the Piggy universe that we don't even have any information on yet. What's crazier though is that some of these separate games actually seem really interesting to me, surprisingly. Like Pig 64 and Piggy Inner City are unironically cool games that have a lot of content. I didn't even finish talking about all the content in the original Piggy, and honestly, I don't think I can. There are YouTube channels that specifically just make Piggy content, and honestly that's fair. The original game on its own is massive. Adding that to the plethora of other Piggy games there are, and you could literally just talk about the Piggy universe for a lifetime, and still have had missed something. It's incredible how Minitoon's passion for this game never died, and it's even more impressive how Minitoon keeps consistently updating and working on new Piggy titles. The effort is definitely shown in this game's popularity, but you know, like every other successful IP, it inspired a lot of other developers to make similar games. Everyone wanting to make a quick buck over this massive game. The most relevant games that came after Piggy using this formula would be Spider, Banana Eats, and Bacon. These were essentially just Piggy, but changing the main villains to anything else that came to mind. To be fair, these games did die pretty quickly, since they really just seemed like Piggy, and if you're gonna play a free game based on a better free game, why not just play the original? Anyways, yeah, I'm ending this segment now. Crazy how I started with the biggest game, so now everything else is going to be smaller in comparison. Sonic.EXE The Disaster. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know who this is. I've talked about this game multiple times in other videos, but I never really fully covered it. I'd usually just talk about this game's fate, not really spending longer than a few seconds mentioning it. But now, thanks to this video, I can finally show off some gameplay of this. Oh, I forgot this game got killed off. Sonic.EXE The Disaster was a 1v7 ASYM game released in early 2020, and the game took place in the Sonic.exe mythos. Sonic.exe being this goofy creepypasta about Sonic with red eyes killing off his friends. Well, at least it started out as that. It quickly evolved into this crazy phenomenon, where now we have way more Sonic.exe variants, with unique games and art for most of them, to a point where even Sega has referenced Sonic.exe. I really don't know how a creepypasta this bad became so popular, but it turned out to be a good thing, as it spiraled into multiple things. One of them being The Disaster, a game all about Sonic.exe. The gameplay you're seeing now isn't actually from The Disaster though, instead this is a recreation. I'll explain why I can't play the actual thing later. Anyways, the game has you play as a character from the Sonic universe, which is actually kinda groundbreaking for this game. For all the ASYM games before this, you'd usually just play as your own avatar during the survivor gameplay. But for this game, the survivors were Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Cream, Shadow, Rouge, Eggman, Metal Sonic, Blaze, Silver, and Sally. You're probably wondering why all the survivors consist of side characters and you can't actually play as Sonic, and that's because in the lore for this game, Sonic is dead as hell. And also I'm pretty sure someone is wearing his skin. I don't know. The killer roster, on the other hand, consists of Sonic.exe of course, Tails Doll, and Colossus, who is original to this game. I wish I could talk about their lore, but they honestly don't really have much. Well, at least in this specific game, there are more games in this universe created by the same guy, but I don't really want to get into those. What I will get into though is the gameplay for The Disaster, which, like a Sonic game, is fast. It's actually kind of surprising how they could capture the speed and reaction times of a typical Sonic game into an asymmetrical horror game. First off, there's no stamina. You could just constantly run. So how do you get out of chase? Well, every survivor in this game has two abilities, so you either have to take advantage of those, or run to someone who has theirs off of cooldown. I know this is kinda common nowadays, but back then though, ASYM games not only had you playing as yourself, but they also didn't really give you any means to defend yourself. Whereas in this game, you could shoot the killer with a gun, dash into them, self-destruct yourself on them, or do whatever the hell this is. Also, if you're really good at this game, you can kinda avoid getting hit completely. To compensate for the lack of stamina, both the killer and the survivor are given this jump ability. I know that seems really basic, but this jump essentially works as a block. Whenever you jump, you'll be outside of the killer's hitbox. Therefore, if you jump at all the perfect times, you could completely avoid getting hit. Way harder than it looks though. If the survivors are this powerful, then how do the killers play? Let's see. Oh my goodness! I hope you didn't think the survivor experience was overwhelming, because boom, have fun flying a plane for the first time. These killers can do a lot, which is fair, knowing what they're up against. Once you find out all you can do though, the game gets pretty fun. It's pretty challenging to server wipe in this game though. Some survivors could just completely lay you out. It honestly feels like that one scene from Spider-Man where Miles gets beaten up in the chair. It actually makes it more fun though. You'd often find yourself switching strategies mid-game to compensate for different survivors. And once you get one survivor down, things start getting way easier, as once a survivor is dead, they will get the option to turn into a zombie, or they could decline if they're weak. The Disaster is very fast-paced, which makes sense given the source material. If you took a killer from The Disaster and put them into a game like Violence District or Forsaken, it just would not work. Hell, the Forsaken team tried and they just flat out gave up. No good things can last forever though, as in 2025, the game was striked down by Sega, then deleted by Roblox, which is extremely unfortunate, especially since it probably wasn't even Sega who striked them. It might have just been some nameless bum. I loved this game, and playing the remakes of it kinda tells you how well this game holds up. Even now, there are multiple games that are inspired by The Disaster specifically. The most popular currently being Trud and Outcome Memories. I really hope nothing bad happens to that game too. Yeah, this game was just peak. Outcome Memories was peak too, I guess. Sorry that this segment dragged on so long, I just have good memories of this thing. If Outlike is watching this video with his stupid dog profile picture, thanks for making a game that is loved by so many people. I probably wouldn't have started my channel without it. Bear Alpha was created in 2019 by Cheetah Man. If you're wondering why it's called Bear Alpha, well, it's kind of a weird story that even I don't really know fully. So Bear was created in 2015 under the name Yes. The gameplay was just running away from a picture in its simplest form. But the game got a lot of updates, and Bear got split into two entities, Bear Alpha and Bear Star. Bear Alpha was created in 2019, which was made to feel like an earlier version of Bear, having a very simple feel to it. And Bear Star was created in 2020 to be the definitive version of Bear, with all the updates and content you could dream of, before it got discontinued. I'm only going to talk about Bear Alpha as it was made earlier, it's still getting updated, and it gets way more players than Bear Star anyways, so it gives me an excuse to not talk about the same game twice. Cool? Cool. So as I said before, the original gameplay of Bear was essentially just running away from a PNG that was controlled by a player. Kinda like a controllable Nextbot. However, the game has been updated a lot since then, and while the core gameplay is still there, there's a few more things you could do on the survivor side. Mainly just completing puzzles around the map to make the timer go down. If you really want to survive a match though, just hide. Bear doesn't have any tracking abilities. Or really any abilities, I guess. The game's pretty basic. Even the killer is basic. They're literally just a teddy bear that Cheetah Man messed up so bad it turned into this. How did he actually do this, actually? Like for reference, the bear used to look like this before Cheetah Man turned it into this abomination. Supposedly, Cheetah Man's mom put it in the washing machine a bunch, and Cheetah Man himself strangled it until the joints twisted. You know, actually, let's do a science experiment. I bought a Benton bear on eBay that looks pretty similar to the one Cheetah Man had, and also I bought another one that's a Worthington bear, which I'm pretty sure is the exact same teddy that Cheetah had, just recolored. I'm gonna try to recreate the steps to turn Bear into Bear. Unfortunately, that's gonna take a while though, so I guess I'll show you my progress in another future video. Anyways, Bear Alpha, yeah, it's a pretty simple game. I will say that it has a lot of fun content and game modes in it. It's even got this cool badge storyline thing, which gets pretty crazy. I won't spoil it, as I actually want you to try to do this ARG thing on your own, as it's honestly pretty cool. You know, for a game that's just hiding and running away from a picture, this game's pretty fun. And I could probably make a future video just talking about Bear, but I'm not going to do that here, so just moving on to the next segment. Vampire Hunters 3 was released in 2017 by user ZackAttack, and it's the only game I'm covering that I have not heard about before making this video. But I kinda wish I did, as this game goes kinda hard. I imagine there's more Vampire Hunter games that came before this, but I'm just gonna talk about this one as I had the most fun with this one. If I had to explain the gameplay, it's kinda like classic murder mystery, but with zombies, where 13 survivors are put into a match, one of them is secretly a vampire, and another is given the Vampire Hunter role. The Vampire Hunter taking the role of the sheriff, of course. So yeah. Just imagine murder mystery as the template for this game, where the vampire's goal is to take out the survivors one by one, and the survivor's goal being to track down the vampire and lead the hunter towards them. And like any other murder mystery, it stops being a mystery as soon as the vampire is revealed, and instead just becomes this juggernaut game of who can get the gun first. This game isn't completely murder mystery though, as one of the most interesting things about it is that all the characters are given a plethora of different abilities and items to take each match. The vampires, of course, could all get different abilities, and even the survivors are given a ton of tools to help them out with the vampire hunt. You could also just group up with other survivors and beat the shit out of the vampire yourselves with baseball bats. Zero help from the hunter needed. It's also incredibly fun how cinematic this game is. It kind of feels like Left 4 Dead sometimes, which is a massive compliment. It's incredible how they could pull that off with just one killer. The game's also cinematic in the sense they have cutscenes for pretty much every match transition. It's actually really goofy. Like, the way these are animated really makes it seem like a show you found on Netflix with 10 reviews in total. The game's awesome, if you couldn't tell. It's a shame how dead this thing is. I'd love to see another murder mystery horror asym game in the future, as besides from this one, I can't really think of any others. My only complaint with Vampire Hunters that keeps me away from playing it is that all the characters are absolutely butt ugly. I really don't know what happened here, or why they couldn't just use your default avatar. Oh, and also, the progression kinda sucks. Veterans will just have way better abilities and items. It doesn't help that the vampires have a skill tree, meaning if you play this game a lot, your vampire will just be completely unbalanced compared to the newer survivors. That shouldn't be enough to deter you though. The game's pretty fun. I know pretty much all of the games I'm talking about are fun, except maybe some of the later ones. But Vampire Hunters 3 surprised me a lot. Enough where I can confidently say that I had more fun with this game than most of the games I'm covering here. Which is kinda crazy, as somehow I did not know about this game until I started scripting for this video. The good parts of this game are great, and the bad parts aren't horrible, they're just goofy. I really recommend this one. Survive the Night was made by the Auric Group, founded by Rack Jumper in 2017. Survivors must survive the slashers until 6 AM, doing so by running around the map, using perks and gears, but mostly just hiding. You'll actually find out a lot of these older asym horror games just devolve into hide and seek, with no real way for survivors to defend themselves like how they can today. Killers are a different story though. In Survive the Night specifically, slashers have unique powers and traits to kill the survivors. Something surprising that comes from this game is its very own story mode dubbed Before the Dawn, but we're just covering the asym right now. First, talking about the survivor gameplay. Actually, we just need to talk about these killers some more. They're all just knockoff bootlegs of antagonists, not just horror movie slashers, just general antagonists. You have, of course, Myers, Mears, the Exterminator, and also this guy from nowhere in particular named Large Papa. And possibly the most hilarious out of these is an actual T-Rex. Anyways, yeah. Survivors, they have multiple gears to assist them on surviving. You can get a tracker that shows you how far or close the slasher is, a camera that blinds and slows down the slasher, a hammer that builds barricades, and an actual flamethrower that slows the slasher. I guess this game has evolved quite a bit from the simple hide and seek I remember it as. The only thing holding these abilities back is their long cooldowns and the sheer amount of them. There are so many gears that do different things, most of them seeming completely useless because you die super fast in this game. Anyways, survivors also got perks, kinda similar to Dead by Daylight, but with overall less variety. They typically bounce between you being quieter, faster, and tankier, but you can also find some perks that can do more fun stuff, like placing traps on doors you interact with. One of the perks just straight up blows you up once you're killed. You're basically just running the Call of Duty Martyrdom perk at that point. As for maps, they're varied from asylums and hospitals to forests and sewers. They're all pretty dark maps overall. I'm guessing to make the hide and seek kind of gameplay a little more survivor-sided. I mean, just look at the shipyard. You can barely see anything within 6 feet of you. If I didn't make it obvious I don't really like this game, it's not necessarily bad. In fact, I think this game is right behind Piggy when it comes to having the most content in an asym game. It's just, for this game, there's so much that I do not care about. There's like 30 killers in this game, and you get zero information on how to play them. To be honest, I blame the horrible UI. I think this game somehow has the worst UI out of any game I've talked about or will talk about. You really just have to experience it yourself, to be honest. What is awesome about it though is whenever you click on any skin, it will play a noise that the skin makes. So it really just sounds like that one bootleg Mario game.
Where is God when you need him? Bowser means nothing to me.
There are some other game modes here if the experience ever becomes dull. There's a story mode that may or may not go crazy. I played it years ago and I don't remember anything about it. Maybe it was fire, I don't know. There's also a hunt mode, which is a Juggernaut style asym where you and a group of soldiers have to kill whoever is unfortunate enough to play as the killer. No one plays this game mode, so I can't actually start a match. I would have gotten some friends in this game, but telling people to hop on Survive the Night honestly would feel like an insult. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much Survive the Night. This game is kind of unfortunate because it just feels so unbalanced. Some killers are just way better than others, and I don't think the developers intend on fixing that. They since made a Survive the Night 2, but it has the same issue as the Hunt game mode, where it's so dead that I can't play it. It honestly feels so weird playing this game again, as there was one point where this was the best asym on Roblox. And now it just feels like it's held together by duct tape. There is some talent here though. I do hope the team behind this game got to work on bigger and better projects. But unfortunately, we're just going to be moving on to the next segment. Who doesn't know about this game? Anyone who has played Roblox for more than 3 years probably knows what I'm going to talk about already. Flee the Facility was created in 2017 by AW Apps, more specifically Mr. Windy. The gameplay consists of survivors trying to avoid the beast while hacking computers so they can flee the facility. The game plays very similarly to Dead by Daylight in its core mechanics, having little changes to its inspiration. This is because Flee the Facility is one of the first games directly inspired by Dead by Daylight. Basically, if you've ever played Dead by Daylight, this game is that, but worse. Same gens, same hooks, yet no perks, no survivor abilities, and there's only 3 killers if you count the different killer abilities you can start with as separate killers. The only way survivors can get out of chase is by closing doors on the killer, or by getting to one of these vents. It's kinda like Piggy in a sense, where the survivors can crawl, yet the beast can't. Oh yeah, by the way, the killer is called the Beast, so I'm 100% sure that if Flee the Facility was still popular today, we would have gotten a Mr. Beast collab. But what the hell? This game is popular. This game has like 20,000 concurrent players at any given time. Not as good as like Forsaken or something, but this game is kinda big in the asym market still. That's honestly kinda crazy. I guess the game kinda fits in with some party games where it's thrown onto the front page because how simple it is. I kinda feel bad saying it like that, especially since I'm kinda ending this segment short despite this game being a classic. It's not like this game's bad though, as if you didn't have Dead by Daylight or you didn't know what that was, this free game on Roblox could have been a gateway drug for you to enjoy it. Pretty much all the games after this point are too old to get any real inspiration from anything, so when this game came out, it was definitely the best asymmetrical horror game on the market. Unless you count the next game as horror. Hide and Seek Extreme was made in 2015 by Tim7775, and it's the only kids party game turned Roblox game I'm including in my list here. It's not really a horror game, but I started playing Roblox in 2015 when this came out, and I was really scared playing this game, which is why I'm even talking about it. Call it bias, but if you were there back in the day and had to live through this game, you'd know.
He's the devil.
The gameplay is just hide and seek, and once you're found, the tagger has to tag you. All the maps are these massive rooms, kinda making you seem like a toy or action figure just walking around these places. What's weird to me is that, like, these are all of the maps. I wonder what the lore for this game is for, like, us to be so small. Anyways, the hiders don't really get any ability to run away or defend themselves from the tagger. They literally just hide. They are given this radar on the bottom left that tells you how far away the tagger is from your location. For some reason, this little icon scared me a lot. You could also just straight up spectate the tagger whenever you want, so if you know the maps enough, you could essentially just keep yourself on the complete opposite side of the map from the tagger at all times. Compared to the hider's crazy tracking, the tagger doesn't really have much. Sure, they're faster than the hiders, but besides from that small passive, they only get one ability. There's 9 taggers in this game. I don't know why you can't play as your own avatar in this game, but I guess there's no reason to. When you can play as the main cast from We Bare Bears, you'd be silly for wanting anything else. Even though there's a total of 9 taggers, there's only 4 different abilities, meaning a lot of these characters have to share. The abilities kinda suck though, so I'm not even gonna explain them. One of them just has you place a camera down so you can play Five Nights at Freddy's, I guess. It's a bad ability. The only ability that's unique to one tagger is Stunning Smash, which is owned by the Yeti, who is only purchasable via Robux. The ability has you hit the ground, stunning all the hiders around you. The Yeti has always been interesting to me because the other taggers are kinda just people who are good at hide and seek. The Yeti's description just tells you his power. This man will kill you if he finds you. There's also the bears, I guess, but those are Cartoon Network bears. They're probably just here for the love of the game. Anyways, that's pretty much all I can say about Hide and Seek Extreme. I can't really talk about this game's impact, as it's not really considered a horror game, especially put up against the other games I've talked about. Instead, this game is mainly popular for its accessibility. Pretty much everyone on Earth knows how to play hide and seek, so a free game on Roblox that's available on every device is a no-brainer. It's why this game is so popular even now. And I don't think this game's even got a proper update in years, so that's really saying something. I will say that there is an Asym game that's pretty new called Tribulation, and they have the tagger from this game as an actual killer, and I just think that's pretty fire.
You are selected to play as the Beast. You can use special abilities which you can find on the left of your screen. To activate an ability, press an ability hotkey or click on the ability.
Darkness 2 was created in 2014 by user Lolaris. If you're wondering why I'm not talking about the original Darkness that came out in 2013, well, I literally can't play that game. It's just completely broken and only shows me darkness. I mean, maybe that's the point though. Anyways, Darkness 2 just seems slightly better than Darkness 1, on the account that the darkness is accompanied by this yellow bar. Yeah, neither of these work. But there is a fixed version of Darkness 2 that I can play, so I'm just gonna be playing that. Darkness 2 is a very basic asymmetrical game. There's no special animations or anything. It's pretty much just the default Roblox place experience, but you're given a few gears. The killer being the Beast. I don't know why there are two beasts in this video. I wonder if they'd make good friends. Anyways, the Beast in this game is given a scythe to kill the survivors, and the survivors are given guns. I guess the survivors can actually kill the Beast here, which is a fun change of pace. One of the survivors is also randomly given a Juggernaut roll, which grants them better weapons and an energy shield. Yep, that's the game. For a game this basic, it's actually pretty fun with friends. I did not expect a game this simple to be so entertaining. It helps that each match only lasts a few minutes. I think the fun here has to do with how simple this game is. Like, if you know how to play any game on Roblox, you will know how to play Darkness. I guess the fun you could have with it was a shared experience, as it actually grew pretty popular for its time, even getting its own official Roblox toy. It's honestly kinda sad to see what was a popular Robloxy game fall off so hard. So much that literally no one even thinks about this game. It doesn't help that the original Darkness 1 and Darkness 2 are unplayable thanks to being unrated. I will say though that even back then, this game does kind of feel like Roblox Stalker, but worse. Stop.EXE Slender 2 is an asymmetrical Slenderman game made by Kinnis97, starring Slenderman. It was made in 2010, and it's based on the Garry's Mod game mode of the same name. I'm pretty sure Stop.EXE Slender 1 and 2 are the same game, so I'm just not even gonna bother trying to explain the predecessor. This one would just be better. Anyways, gameplay-wise, the survivors, or citizens, have to collect pages by powering up generators to open up more of the map. They could find the pages stuck on walls or on other objects. They don't really get anything to defend themselves at all. The survivors have no abilities or anything. You have as much defense as any other basic Robloxian from any other basic Roblox game. Slenderman, on the other hand, has to stop the civilians by doing the classic Slenderman shenanigans, tricking the citizens into looking directly at him. It's kind of fun having an Asym game like this, where the survivors' only defense from Slenderman is just not looking at him. I guess it's why survivors don't really need abilities, as if you're good at turning your camera, you can actually avoid taking most of Slenderman's damage. Slenderman has several abilities to prevent this though. The most apparent is invisibility, where he can disappear, then being able to reappear with a noise or silently. He's a lot faster than the survivors while invisible, but moves at a snail's pace when he is visible. Your movement even comes to a complete halt when you're being looked at. Most of the gameplay with Slenderman just involves you flying in front of other players while invisible, then reappearing in front of them, in the hopes you could force them to stare at you enough just so they could die. If a player is skilled enough though, they'd probably be able to turn away fast enough, or maybe even predict where you're gonna teleport. To combat this, Slenderman is also given the ability to wave his tentacles around, and if someone sees him or touches him, they'll get grabbed and are forced into a minigame where they have to keep pressing buttons to break free. Slender becomes stronger the more pages are collected, making him a bigger and bigger threat throughout the match. It doesn't help that if you die as a survivor, you can spend 10 pages that you've collected throughout the matches to respawn as a proxy. Proxies are these little white ghost things that help Slenderman kill people, and they kind of work like an anti-Slender, Proxies have to touch citizens, and the citizens have to shine their flashlight on the proxies to make them fade away for a while. Proxies have 3 abilities: a hallucination ability that makes the citizens nearby think you're attacking them, a fake Slenderman ability that spawns fake Slenders next to nearby civilians, and a flashlight ability that turns off nearby citizens' flashlights for a while. I kinda wish you didn't have to spend the in-game currency to play as a proxy, as the game gets admittedly more fun when you have to deal with 2 threats at once. As mentioned before, the pages you collect as a citizen can also be spent on neat abilities for your next round, ranging from activating generators twice as fast, night vision, stunning citizens who look at you as Slender, and even a page radar if you complete all generators. The game even has different game modes too. One where you have to just power all the generators to win, one where all the citizens that die become proxies, and a classic mode that's pretty much just the normal mode, but the generators are from an older version. Even though this game is just a remix of a Gmod game mode, it's surprisingly well made, especially for the time it came out. It kinda makes me sad if we never got a remaster of this game, as compared to all of the other horror asyms I've talked about, it's definitely the most unique. Kool Killer is a super old yet semi-popular asym created in 2010 by Clone Trooper 1019. It was probably one of the first Roblox horror games that could be considered an asymmetrical horror. This game is just basically Survive the Killer, but with a very wacky character named Kool Killer. You probably have heard of this game before, thanks to the main antagonist being a part of the upcoming roster of killers in BEFORE-saken. The game is based off a YouTube video from 2008 where the protagonists talk about the Kool-Aid Killer. His motivations are that he felt forgotten, so he started killing every person who didn't drink Kool-Aid. This video is pretty weird altogether, and low-key reminds me of the annoying orange. Oh wait. This game kinda feels like Darkness 2, in the sense that it's just so simple that you can't really go wrong with it. I mean, they did go wrong with it, like very wrong with it, I guess. This is probably the worst asym game here by a long shot. The thing with Darkness is that the maps are very small and dense, so hiding in corners to sneak up on people is incredibly easy. Kool Killer can't do any of that though. Instead, the maps are massive. Sometimes they even stretch all the way out past the base plate. Not to mention the killer is this bright red sphere that you literally can't lose to. He has this big name tag that follows him around so he just can't sneak up on you. And you can spectate him from any part of the map. Sometimes you don't even need to hide, you can just walk away from him and you'd be fine. If you get enough points, you could get the skateboard gear. And if you have that gear, the killer just can't catch up with you. Winning this game as a survivor though might actually suck. If the killer wins, you just get this win screen. However, if the survivors win, then get ready for an 8-minute cutscene. These matches last about 11 minutes, and the actual gameplay is 3 minutes long, which is just crazy to me. Imagine playing Die of Death and you win as a survivor, and then there's a 10-minute Where Are They Now segment. It's honestly revolutionary now that I think about it. I literally can't think of anything else to talk about when it comes to this game. The killer is just a morphed avatar with a few gears. You could recreate the Kool Killer experience in Roblox Studio by simply spawning gears everywhere with some friends. Surprisingly, not much to explain here. Besides from this being one of, if not the first horror asym games, there's not really much. I guess anything with that title wouldn't hold much, other than like some old YouTube videos made when this game came out. Stalker Reborn is also a very old asym horror, released originally in 2010 by Maximum ADHD. The gameplay consists of a group of soldiers called Combines who have to fight and survive against a creature called the Stalker. A thing that makes this game difficult from the others in this list is the fact that this is a shooter game, meaning this game is more of a juggernaut kind of thing. Still an asym game though, since it's a 1v all, but I get it if Stalker seems weird up against the other games I've talked about. The Stalker himself is an invisible creature that only really reveals itself when shot at. Stalker has grown a lot since when it came out though, as this game has pretty much only gotten better and better. The latest update being 4 months ago as of writing this script. So let's hope he gets updated soon. The gameplay is basically the same, but better graphics and updated, which is great. A fun fact about this game is that the official Roblox YouTube account made a review about Stalker in 2013, making it seem more dramatic than it actually should be, honestly. Another fun fact is that the creator of this game is still active, and he posts regularly on YouTube. He made some pretty nice games like funny 64-bit platformer, Block Soars, and Super Nostalgia Zone. Goddamn, this guy actually just makes bangers. For a game this old, it's surprising how it can still have more content added to it after so long. Like, imagine if Kool Killer was still being updated and was right up there with BEFORE-saken. You'd think the creator would just forget about it, but Maximum ADHD is actually just built different. He's even making a sequel to this game, being Stalker 2. Anyways, yeah, this game's actually just fire. I know this segment is short, but like, I don't know. I mean, the game's fire, but it's just I've talked about Asyms for so long, I can't do it anymore. I'm tired, boss. And that's all the horror asymmetrical games that I can think of. Is there any that you know that I didn't talk about today? And how do you think these games compare today? I'm pretty interested in this topic. And I'm also very sure that there's a game that is like a super banger that I missed out on. So if you know a crazy game that you played before 2020, you should comment it so I could try playing it someday. Also, if you're wondering why I haven't been uploading so much, my next video is probably going to be more than an hour long. So I've mainly been just scripting for that and stuff. But I was able to get this video done thanks to my wonderful editor, Neko, or Nico, I still don't know, he never told me. And while I'm thanking people, I want to thank Gab and Spinell for helping me script some of the segments here. I have not played some of these games in their heyday, so having two people that have makes things a lot easier for me. I don't really got anything else to say in this outro. I kind of talked about everything that I wanted to talk about. I was pretty heated in some of these segments. I don't think any of these games are really bad, except maybe Survive the Night, but most of them are actually pretty fine. Even the ones that are just walking around, they can be a fun time with the right people. And also, go on 28awesomebugs.org. Hopefully you didn't forget about that organization, like, while I was talking and yapping. You should go on there and use my code, TheEdgiestTaco. That'd be pretty cool. Anyways, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the very end, maybe you should subscribe if you think I deserve it. No one really gets past the thanking segment, actually. So you're even if you're not subscribed and you made it to this part, you're the only person who's seen this. This video right now is essentially a personal conversation between me and you. Like, no one else is here. They all clicked off. This is uncomfortable. I'm just gonna leave. Okay, bye-bye.